Welcome to the 2025 Economic Preparation and the Present Channel. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday night edition, June 7th, 2025. We are heading into the third quarter of summer here. Please be sure to subscribe or hit that like button on the way in, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate all of your support and all of your comments. We're going to be talking briefly about this urge by President Trump to have an interest rate cut by a full point, despite the strong jobs report that we're seeing, at least, relatively strong numbers that we're seeing supposedly these last 3 months. Obviously, we're going to talk about why no job is safe in this economy right now, but you still should be working hard and diligent to prepare, as always, in many different facets. And also, we're going to be talking about the trade relations between U.S. and China briefly, and how they're still in talks until July, obviously, and that that's going to impact and manipulate the stock market on Wall Street and on Main Street. So we have to be careful and cognizant of that as we make our preparations and plans here as best we can. In the meantime, I hope everyone had a great weekend. This is the first weekend as we head into June here. It's the last month of school for a lot of graduations, a lot of weddings going on. So I hope you have some time to take care of self-care as well. Now we're going to get into it. Trump presses Fed Chief Powell to cut interest rate, quote, by a full point despite strong jobs report. So now we realize that we have $37 trillion in debt, according to the USDebtClock.org, which many people have accessed by Google. And so because of this, we got to service not only the interest in the debt, but we're coming to a point where we're stagnating here. Many Americans don't have a lot of discretionary income after paying bills and taking care of family members and taking care of other needs to really help boost this economy. Remember, 2/3 of the U.S. economy is based on spending and getting and spending and, buy now, pay later plans and credit. And if that's not flowing, then guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We have a stagnant economy. And that's not always a good thing. You remember Japan had 10 years where we had a lost deal, where they had a lost economy, where basically everything just stagnated and their currency, went to shambles. That could very well be coming to the U.S., but an abbreviated version. It won't be 10 years, it would be at least 5 years of this kind of, lost in Narnia kind of feel. So President Trump is urging Fed Chairman Jerome Powell to make these cuts by a full point. Forget about the 25 basis points. He says we need a full 1 point cut every time, and he's pushing for this probably by the next meeting in July or August. I told you earlier in a couple of videos earlier that I thought that the rate cuts will not be happening until October timeframe of this year or later, and I thought that they wouldn't cut the rates, they'll leave them steady until then. But President Trump is trying to put pressure on them to lower these things by 1 full point and to continue to lower these rates. So what do you think in the comments? The 30-year, the 10-year, the 5-year Treasury, the bonds are all up above 4.3%. This is not looking good, for the yield curve that's possibly inverting. You and I know that across this country that, there's many hardworking Americans. It's not that even young people. There's a lot of young people that are, Gen Z or Gen Alpha. They want to work. They want to work hard. They want to, whatever they do, whether it's a trade or in the military or in school or out of school, they want to work hard, despite the reputation that they've given. But the jobs are just not there to support them. In fact, the moderate paying jobs are not there to support them. And you and I know that. It's across the country from the Pacific Northwest all the way to the Northeast and down to South. The prices are just too high. And so how do we reset this economy and keep rates at a decent pace here where people can afford to live or, at least pay their bills and try to survive out here? And so that's the problem that they're having with this argument. Do we raise rates and have people suffer even more because the wages, we haven't got a real job raise in the last 35, 40 years that can keep up with inflation. And even if you save a lot of money, people are saying, well, you can put it in savings account, high yield, but it's not really high yield because, you're getting 3 to 4% at best right now. And those are coming down. So unless you have a ton of money in these type of interest things, bearing accounts, even if you do in CDs, you're not outpacing inflation right now. So why are there so few safe jobs right now? This was on MarketWatch.com. April jobs report did show a continuing hiring in some industries, but many traditionally, quote, safe white-collar and public service jobs are now looking less secure. They're talking about they're alluding, of course, to the federal government jobs, alluding, of course, to the high-paying tech sector that was hurt. Silicon Valley was hurt and a lot of the jobs were lost, and they were laying out people left and right back in February and March and even into early April. But now they're starting to slow down. And so people are weighing factors like salary, location, schedule, career development, and safety. And one of the things that we talked about on this channel was that the less ties you have to the system in terms of bills, obviously if you have a mortgage and heavy car payments and heavy school kid bills and student loans and credit card debt, then it's not as easy to just walk away from a city or a town, because the jobs are there in all these big cities. We're talking about New York, LA, DC, Chicago, Houston, Indianapolis, Detroit, all the big cities. The jobs are there, even though people say it's kind of reduced. But what was traditionally seen as a safe job, people have come to realize that they're expendable on all these jobs, whether you're in professional, white collar, doctor, lawyer, nurse, teacher. Everybody's expendable in the market where we have so many people applying for these jobs, so many people that are qualified. These are qualified individuals with experience and plenty of multiple degrees, right? And so people realize that they're expendable, that they're replaceable. And so many people are a little bit nervous about just getting up and leaving and starting a new life somewhere else in another state or even another country, because you're still going to face the same problems. You have to get established, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally in these new places or new states. And it takes a long time to get another job. Let me know, how long do you think it takes the average person to find a new job, even if they've got degrees and more than 10 years experience, 15 years experience? How long is it taking Americans, average Americans, to find a new job? I would estimate, in my humble opinion, it's taking 6 months to a year to find a decent job when you decide to leave or upgrade your skills or go into another field. The latest jobs report shows signs of weakness in some white-collar jobs. This included tech, science, engineering, law, and accounting. So these are big-time jobs here in America. And traditionally, to be honest with you, that we're not competing on the scale that, that China and Singapore and some of these other countries are competing in terms of the tech chips, Taiwan, and in terms of engineering and law. We're coming down. We're more middle of the road right now. And even Europe surpassed us. Some of these countries have a great tech sector, science sector, like Germany and Norway and Denmark, and some of these countries out there, they have a great tech sector and science sector and engineering sector. So we're actually middle of the road right now in America. Other sectors showed little growth or overall decline in new jobs in April. This includes construction, manufacturing, retail, trade, leisure, and hospitality. Do you many of you guys remember back at least before the pandemic, they were putting up new apartments everywhere, new apartments and townhomes everywhere across these cities and townships and municipalities. You couldn't wait to get on the wait. You were not on a waiting list. You could get whatever you wanted. They had a townhouse apartment, new apartments everywhere. They were putting up new storage units everywhere. You saw that everywhere, and new fast food and car wash places were popping up everywhere, gas stations. Now, as we've post-pandemic here in this 2025 environment, you don't see them building like that no more. You don't see these trailers on the road, people at Home Depot, these contractors. Yeah, they pick up a few things, but you don't see what you used to see 20, 30 years ago. We had people waiting outside of Home Depot or Lowe's, or getting these contractor orders and massive orders. You don't see that anymore, and that's because the building has gone down, it's slowed down, and the building that they are doing is shoddy construction, is rush construction, so that a couple years you may get a house or apartment, and things, the sound walls, you can hear through the walls, and walls are cracking. They got all kind of plumbing issues, and these people are paying high prices, high rent. Some of these apartments, you're paying over $2K, $3K rent. And you got plumbing issues, you got rodents, you got trash in the hallways. I heard a lot of residents complaining about that. And some of these high rise, they're paying 2-3K a month, even 4K a month in some of these cities. It is really a mess right now. And so President Trump announces U.S. trade deal talks in London next week. So he'll be over in London, our folks across the pond there. And the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and others, according to CNBC.com, will be holding trade talks with the Chinese counterparts. So we're still in talks here until July. As I said, we're squabbled over numerous issues in China. The trade war is going to be here throughout the summer. And all this is, ladies and gentlemen, is just to manipulate the stock market, okay? If they reach a deal, the stock market goes up, tremendously. It doesn't mean much for the Main Street economy, but the stock market is going to be manipulated accordingly. So if they don't reach a deal, they say, hey, we're going to pause it until August or September, stock market will still go up. So either way, it's not going to make a huge difference on Wall Street. But on Main Street, it's going to make a difference in terms of the tariffs. It's going to make a difference because that means it's going to mean higher prices for longer for us, for Americans, buying any good. And CNBC and other people, MSNBC, was running these stories about how the Dollar Tree and the Dollar General and all these stores are supposedly, being flooded with people to buy, goods. And that may be true, but it's not entirely the whole picture. Many people are buying essential things that they need, like food, water. You may buy stuff like that, or cell phone chargers, things like that, batteries. Yeah, you get that from the Dollar Tree, Dollar General. But I don't think people are sacrificing the heavy stuff, the heavy quality stuff that they need at the Dollar Tree and Dollar General or Family Dollar just yet. And remember, a lot of those stores are overbuilt and they're closing down too. So we just have to wait and see how it plays out. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, continue to prepare. God bless you. Enjoy your weekend here. Get out and get some sunshine while you can in between the showers and rain or whatever's going on in your part of the country. And I'll see you on the next episode. Be sure to hit that like button. Take care.